Hello and welcome to Behind the Screen episode, 14. It's amazing how fast time flies. I am JM. I'm your host here as you step with me behind the screen as we just talk about gaming, design, role-playing games, board games, and the things which inspire us. So I am here live on Behind the Screen, and today we're going to do kind of an after-action report for my campaigns that are running right now. Thought it'd be fun to chat about them with you. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask me, whether it's about GMing, where the campaign's going, how I plot, anything like that. Would love to chat with you. I do apologize, this one's a little earlier than normal. Daylight savings time continues to screw everything up this week. And so I'm running two campaigns right now. Actually, technically three. So I run three campaigns. The one that a lot of people may be interested in is the fact that on Tuesday nights, I run the Torg Eternity game over on the Ulysses International channel. And if you get a chance to go check that out, it is wild. We officially started our campaign this Tuesday, but we had a bunch of what we call day one shots. One shots where we introduced one or two of the characters that are going to be playing in the campaign. And I've talked a lot about Torg on this game, on this stream, so I'm not going to necessarily give you a giant rundown on it, but I thought I'd talk about the characters, talk about the campaign, kind of my thoughts and my plots for it. So my group consists of a 1930s Omar Sharif style actor turned spy, a mummy who is over 1,500 years old, who was, actually longer than that. We're talking like probably 2,500 years old. And the fact that she was accidentally raised, they thought she was this great pharaohess, and turned out she was just the architect and the mathematician of the great pharaohess, and they opened the wrong tomb and resurrected the wrong mummy. I have a techno demon that is trying to reform his ways and save his soul. I have a cyber knight from the cyber papacy, and then I have a monster hunter from Core Earth, sort of a la Supernatural, Buffy, that kind of genre. And I've thrown them down in the middle of Istanbul and gave them 4 objectives and a starting point and said go. So my last couple of Torg games have been The last Torg game that I ran on the Ulysses International channel, and you can go check that out on the Iconic Production channel as well as the Ulysses International channel, the Horseman campaign, the Eternity Shards, they tended to be very MacGuffin and plot driven. Hey, here's the inciting incident. Go figure it all out. And the Istanbul campaign, I wanted to see if I could run a city sandbox with this group. And with Torg, I've never tried it with Torg. So essentially, I'm giving them a bunch of locations, a bunch of goals, and a bunch of NPCs. And they've got to solve their own mysteries. They got to see what's interesting. Things that they don't interact with are going to get worse. I have a little spreadsheet. Maybe I'll do a spreadsheet on time management and plotting in RPGs. But essentially, it's just a little calendar that says, all right, here's where everything's starting. So like just, say, all right, villain A wants to destroy the hard point at the Golden Gate. It's going to take him these steps to do, and here's how long each step is going to take. Here's what rumors heroes will start to hear at each step. If the heroes don't investigate it, that's fine, but the plot's going to continue. That plot's going to continue to move forward, and I have 5 of these plots that are going to continue to move forward. And the reason I do it like that is because, one, it gives the feeling of a living city, which is something that you cannot fake in my mind. Like that the campaign world is actually moving on, and the characters may not be the focus of everything. And the characters' choices have actions, right? Somebody once said it to me, or I read it somewhere, that if you get everything you wanted at the start of the campaign, at the end of the campaign, and it all happened in the best possible manner, the way you saw it, then none of your choices really mattered, right? If your choices matter, then like growing up, my father liked to say, every choice involves loss. If you choose A, you may not get to do B. If you choose B, then C is right out. So every choice you make, you gain something, but you also lose something. So I kind of like that feeling. And two, it basically means that most times the heroes show up when everything seems hopeless and too late, and isn't that when heroes shine? I think that's right out of the Play Dirty book. And we'll talk about books that inspire me next Tuesday on the Iconic, or on Behind the Screen. So that game's going interestingly. We had our first game. They all came together. I called the first adventure The Legacy of the Nabateans. And the Nabateans are a sect that lived in Petra in Jordan, which is pretty far away from Istanbul if you know your geography. I feel like I could pull a John Oliver here and say, this is Petra. You know so little about Petra that you didn't know that this isn't actually Petra. This is Istanbul. And what that means for the group, what that means, nobody knows yet, but that's kind of where we're starting. This is kind of my intro adventure to kind of get the NPCs, to get one of the mysteries explored, to get the city kind of set. Hey, Padre, it was insane. We learned a valuable lesson. Never, ever, ever, ever leave the Techno Demon and the Cyber Knight unchaperoned. They are both playing low intelligence, high thuggery kind of characters, and essentially they organized a coup of the kitchen in the neutral ground bar. And using the rules of Tharkold, the Techno Demon is now the head chef. While the rest of the group actually was like trying to figure out what to do. And what's interesting is they misinterpreted some of the things, and that could be on my end as well. But there was some confusion about what the rules of the bar were, and I'm not going to explain it to them. I'm going to let it ride and go forward. But there's also things behind the scene. They did discover, somebody said this all seems too easy, and it sort of was too easy, unless you take the fact that, right, the guy running the bar is a powerful telepath. So let that be where it is. But what was interesting is, so here's the thing, as GMs, there are times where we have big personalities who are going to do just crazy and interesting things. And John Wick, the game designer, not the movie assassin, talks about this in Play Dirty, and he calls it ham and pineapple. I don't like ham and pineapple pizza, but John is apparently a huge fan of it. And he said, sometimes it's easy as the GM to reward the pineapple because it's the sweetness. It's the thing that brings zest to the pizza. But as the GMs, our job is to focus on the ham and reward them instantly in the moment when they do something. Pineapple's going to take care of itself. Find a way to engage with and reward the ham. And that's what I'm going to be trying to do with the rest of this arc. You want to see how the city got... Padre, I'm looking forward to... Hopefully we'll get to see you in the chat on Tuesday night. It's going to be very interesting. They're in the Nile Empire side. So I basically took two Cosms in Torg and just mashed them up. The whole point of this campaign is to see, can I step outside the lines a little bit as a GM and make a piece of the Torg Infiniverse my own, and that's what Istanbul is. And I mashed up Tharkold and the Nile Empire, and I was really struggling on how I'm going to get these two things to work. And thankfully, Ben, who plays Kowalski the Techno Demon, was like, "Oh, this sounds amazing! I'm so excited about this game. Why don't you read a ton of Hellboy?" And I was like, "I've never read Hellboy. I enjoyed the movies, sure." And it turns out weird science and Techno Demons go together way better than I thought. Padre, it'll be good to see you in there. I will give the caveat that I run the Torg game a little bit differently. Torg is a hybrid of a game that I'm running for my friends and a show that engages with the chat. So from time to time, the chat will throw out ideas to the party. They never need to feel like they need to do that, but the chat is sort of an angel sitting on their shoulder. Sometimes it's the guy on the other shoulder as well. And thanks, Rook. It is a weird hybrid. The other thing I do is I give possibility to the chat, and the chat is able to donate that possibility back to players or to villains that they really like. So it gives some chat engagement, and I realize it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it is sort of a hybrid approach. So that's my tour game. I love running it. Then I've got the game that went on last night, which I've talked about here on the show before, which is my Jackals game. My Jackals game will never be streamed. It is a private game just for me and my friends, and I really really enjoy it. Oh, thanks, Padre. That's great to hear. I'm glad that you enjoyed the last campaign. That finale was insane. I don't know if you watched the finale, but we got the B team and the Horsemen, and wrapped up a ton of arcs, kind of all in one final grand, glorious craziness. So the Jackals game, I've talked about how they're heading kind of. It's actually very similar to the Torg game. They have a site that they've gone to, this colony that they're attempting to help establish, and they've got a lot of ways that they could help the colony, and they've sort of decided to head to the east to the. So they notice there are several things going on in the east. There's some digging up of old burial sites that have drawn possibly some curses. That's what they're putting together. I haven't linked those two yet. There's some miners because the northern end of the war road is very tin poor and arsenic rich, and so they can make bronze, but it tends to be very deadly for the people who are harvesting and producing the bronze. And then there's a scout camp there, and so they're like, well, hey, let's go east. We'll investigate the scout camp. We'll investigate the mines. This is getting them towards Ekiazaru. So Tuesday design crew, we're going to need to keep focusing on Ekiazaru. And we had a player death yesterday. 5 sessions in, first player died. It was a rather brutal critical, and an Otacon basically just ripped the newest player to the game apart. Like, he's been there the whole game, but it's his first time playing Jackals. I met him here when I moved. Great guy. Actually helped me set the studio up. And so he had the choice of spending a fate point and staying at 1 wound, or letting his character die. And he's like, I'm going to let my character die. And so we're going to have a big funeral for him the next time we play. There are rules that I'm developing for Jackals that are like, basically, hey, the more you spend on someone's funeral, the more advances they start with their next character. Sort of kind of an homage to the dead, kind of helps you attract a better quality of Jackal. So it's going to play off the retirement rules in Jackals. And so I talked with him about it afterwards, and he's like, no, you told me start of the campaign, the character I start with isn't going to be the one I end with. Sometimes they'll retire, sometimes they'll die. And what was interesting to him is he's like, I want to, when I made my character in Jackals, there was some advice in the rule book, but I kind of ignored it. And now I know that I should have paid attention to it. And so I'm going to he's going to make a new Malconi. We're going to dovetail him in. It's going to be a lot of fun. It was a good death from a mechanics perspective. Like, he chose not to save his character. The game had just some amazingly epic fight scenes, which is something I enjoy about the Clash system, and not just because I wrote it. Like, we had 2 times in the game. So in Clash, the Jackal system, higher roll wins without going over, right? Price is Right system. And twice my buddy Brad's Malconi Spearman beat the Takan's roll by 1%. And so, like, he's describing it as sliding on the mud under the Takan's mace and driving his spear up into the beast's stomach. It was great. Everyone had a good time. And then, Deshi died. So they'll give him a big funeral. It'll be interesting because one of the other characters, the other Luwathi character, really seemed like he was bonding with Deshi. And so I'm interested. He's like, I want to hold the funeral. So I'm like, awesome. I'll have the rules written up the next time we play. And I cannot wait to see the funeral that you are going to give to your fellow Luwathi who fell. And then the last game I run is, I run on Sunday afternoons. I run a game for Zane and Ben, who plays Kowalski, and Kowalski's 3 kids. And it's really their first long-term campaign with a rule set. I'm running them with 2nd edition D&D. And Ben and I have talked about how amazing it is. There's a tendency as DMs. I'll quote Paul here, right? When I was a child, I thought childishly. Now that now I have to put away childish things, and maybe not quote, paraphrase, because I haven't had enough coffee yet. Right? There's this tendency when we first get into D&D or gaming, we're just doing whatever comes to mind. What seems cool? Oh, hey, let's go do this dungeon. Hey, let's go check out this thing. Oh, what's this magic item? It's amazing. And then somewhere along the way, we get to this idea where we're like, ooh, let's tackle like deep themes and political intrigue and the meaning of a soul. And that's great. I love running those campaigns. That's probably the majority of my campaigns. I'm looking right at Mage for changing the way I run games. But what's wonderful about this 2e game is that it's for kids between the ages of 6 and 10. And Ben, who is acting as our caller, right? What is it? In old D&D, you had somebody who, like, everyone talked to the caller. The caller kind of sorted through all of the chaos and then told the DM what they wanted to do. So I have the adult being the caller and all the kids enjoying this. Yes, Padre, it is a ton of fun, and that's the beauty of it. They're experiencing D&D the way I experienced D&D when I was their age. And as such, Ben and I were talking about this, right? Right, we all talk about how we wish we could go back and watch our favorite movie for the first time, or read our favorite book for the first time. What's been amazing about this game is through the eyes of our kids, we are able to experience role-playing games again for the first time. Yeah, it is. Rook and Padre, it is a wonderful joy teaching new people, watching them learn. Padre, and Rook, if you guys haven't seen it, there's a great adventure it's free. I'll put the link. I'll have JD put the link in the show notes. It's called Tomb of the Serpent King. Tomb of the Serpent Kings, maybe plural. It is an intro dungeon, and every room has a lesson that after the people get through the room, you share the lesson with them if you want, or you can just have them learn it through osmosis. But these are kids who are between 6 and 10, so I'm giving them the lesson. And basically every room of the dungeon is designed to teach a lesson about D&D. Brilliantly done. Just a great adventure. So I'm running this game for them, and it's wonderful. It's funny because they all rolled really well for their stats. Ben has actually lost 2 characters. And the rest, I think Ollie has lost 1, and everyone else has still got their original characters. And they all decided to play fighters at the start. They were like, no, I don't want to learn magic. I don't want to, So one of them had like an 18 intelligence. One of them had like a 16 wisdom. They're like, nope, fighter seems like the best way to survive this game. I was like, all right, so we have a group of fighters at this point. Ben is now playing a cleric. And Zane probably was the most adventurous. He's playing a halfling fighter thief. And they've gone through about 1.5 dungeons, a bunch of role-playing scenes. They all have pets now. It's great because, right, when we first get into role-playing games, what's the first thing we do? We steal the things we love, right? Like, even Tolkien stole the things he loved. The Gandalf and the Name of the Dwarves are right out of the Eddas. Like, letter for letter, name for name, right out of the Eddas. And so I asked Aaron, hey, so who sent you on this quest? Oh, it was Gandalf. And one of the, Sammy, who's the youngest, is playing Thorin, the dwarf fighter. And it's wonderful. It's just a joy to experience role-playing through the eyes of kids. And then the other thing for adults, we don't have... Ben and I were talking about this. And we'll probably talk about this a lot more in the Grand Campaign next weekend. I had a thought and I lost it. But basically, essentially, the idea that when we play in someone else's world, as world builders, we know what goes into that. And so there is a certain gravitas of going, I am playing in Rook's game, which, by the way, Rook, we need to play more because I loved that game. I loved my Space Orc Samurai. we play in someone's game, and maybe they're designing the game, or at least they built the world, and there's a gravitas there, and you want to sit down, and as a world builder and as a game designer, you want to take the game as seriously as someone else. With this game, we're able to just sit down and have fun. Like, the kids love the game. We play for about 90 minutes to 2 hours, and that's it. We get done, we get through what we get through. If people die, if there's silliness, if half the session is focused on, like, which war dog is the elven fighter going to buy, and how can the halfling get a pair of snakes that hopefully will give them more snakes. That's fine. Like, there's no expectations going in there. We're just showing up on a weekly basis. We're sitting down, we're playing games, and we're all loving it. So that has, all right, Rook, let me get through the next 2 weeks, and we'll set up a time in April. Golly, it's funny you mentioned that, Phantom. I gave Zane, Zane 1 always wants more snakes, Rook. 2, I just gave Zane the Dragonlance Chronicles Phantom. I found a great box set of them where they broke each of the books into 2 slim books. So you know how, like, each book has 2 parts? They actually just broke them out. So Zane literally this morning just finished Rumor of Dragons, the first half of Dragons of Autumn Twilight, and is now getting into the second half. I got him interested by watching the strongly okay Dragons of Autumn Twilight animated movie that I really wish they would have at least finished the trilogy off, because it's really kind of that they only did 1 and then just kind of left it. It's not great, but honestly, compared to the other D&D movies, it's probably the best, which is really a sliding scale. So yeah, we have a ton of, that's it for this week's episode of Behind the Screen. We have a ton of content coming out this week. This weekend we're doing, on Saturday morning, we're doing Exploring Glorantha. And then on Sunday evening, we'll be doing our first live stream of the Gumshoe season for the Iconic Podcast. Yes, Rook, they did an animated movie of Dragons of Autumn Twilight. They got Kiefer Sutherland to do one of the voices. I mean, and Michael Rosenbaum is in it. Like, it's great. Check it out. You can find it online to watch. It's solidly okay. The art is actually, like, the animation is an interesting style. I really enjoyed it. Zane and I loved it. I think objectively I can say it is, solidly okay, and I really hope that Joe Manganiello gets his shot at doing the trilogy. It is a low bar, Padre. It was such a low bar to clear. So, anyway, thank you all for joining me. Padre, Rook, Phantom, it's always good to chat with you in the chat. Next week, we're going to take a break from our regular kind of format of Game Design Monday, chat on Thursday. Monday, I'm going to talk about books that inspire me. There's questions that I'm taking on the poll on the Discord channel. If you're a member of the Iconic Production Discord, you can jump on the Discord, ask me some questions. And then Thursday, I'm going to talk about Chaosium Con, hopefully with Evan, and we're going to be heading out to Chaosium Con the following week, and hopefully we'll be able to do a quick touch base and just kind of say, hey, here's what we're looking at doing, here's what we're excited about. It is going to be a lot of fun. So, until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay gaming. If you like what we do, please consider following and subscribing here on Twitch, or jumping over to YouTube, following us there, leave a comment, hit the like button so the algorithm says, hey, people enjoy this stuff. So again, until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay gaming. I will see you all next week on Tuesday for Behind the Screen. Padre, good to chat with you. Rook, thank you as always for your generosity. Phantom, have a great day. I will see you all on Tuesday. Have a good one.